and welcome to Media Queen TV. We are in 2026 already. Can you believe it? This is our first episode for the year, and we're starting with a hot one. We have the amazing Daniel Wood with us from Swedish Wealth Institute, and we're going to be chatting about 7 steps to financial success today, which I know for a lot of people in your New Year's resolutions, you'll be thinking about what you want to do in that area. Of course, financial success is very important to live an empowered life and to also have greater impact in the world. So a little bit about our amazing guest, Daniel. Now, he's the CEO and co-founder of the Swedish Wealth Institute, which is leading a global movement to democratize success by giving everyday people direct access to world-class mentors like Robert and Kim Kiyosaki, Les Brown, Jack Canfield, Nick Vujicic, John Assaraf, and Brian Tracy. And if you don't know Nick Vujicic, he's the guy with no arms and no legs. And if you've been whinging about anything lately, you want to go and watch some Nick Vujicic videos online, and you'll certainly change your thoughts around that. Through large-scale summits, workshops, and the Swedish Wealth Institute podcast, which he recently interviewed me on, he delivers practical, proven strategies that help entrepreneurs and investors create real freedom. His own wins and failures have shaped a mission built on empowerment through connection and impact through generosity. Today, he's committed to making wealth-building tools, knowledge, and opportunities accessible to all, regardless of their starting point. Welcome to the show, Daniel.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me here. And I totally agree what you said about Nick Vujicic. I mean, when I got to interview him for the Swedish Wealth Institute podcast, like the stories he tells, the things he's overcome, and like we have no excuse anymore. Like you're talking to a guy who has no arms, no legs, and is an athlete and an entrepreneur and a speaker. It's just like, yeah, all right, let's do it.
He's extraordinary, actually. And to hear him even recently speak about that he still battles with depression sometimes. You know, he's impacted millions of people around the world, and there's still times that he feels really, really low. And I know this of a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of, successful, high achieving, highly driven entrepreneurs, is that sometimes when you have the highs of the highs, we tend to sort of balance it out with the lows of the lows. And there's this whole sort of roller coaster ride journey that happens as an entrepreneur. Now, I'm really interested before we get into
just to respond to that, because I think it's a little bit of what we talked about before we started the show. Is as an entrepreneur, we're always developing, right? We're always finding new ways. We're always doing new things. And as I was saying, like if I go back a year ago and look at where I am today, it's amazing. Like I would kill a year ago, me would kill for what I have now. But now I'm looking at the future. Like the things we're developing and creating now are so amazing that right now looks horrible. Like it's so depressing being in now, because I know what will come out in 2 months, in 6 months, in 12 months. I know the roadmap, and I just want to get to the end of it because that will be so exciting. And that's a part of it as an entrepreneur. The other problem, of course, as an entrepreneur when it comes to our emotions is this is the feeling when things are going awesome, right? When things are going great, it's still going to be better tomorrow than today. So today can be depressing. And you got to remind yourself that, well, a year ago, like this would be amazing. But then when things are not growing, when you're having challenges and setbacks, and in a year from now won't be better than today, it might even be worse than today. Now you're depressed for the opposite reason. So there's always a reason as an entrepreneur to be down, because, things change so quickly, and it's a part of the fun. It's a part of the excitement, but it's also a part of the exercise to really find what is, find that equilibrium, find that groundedness. No matter what tomorrow brings, today is pretty amazing just because I'm here.
Absolutely. Yes, it's a gift to be alive on the planet. There's many people that didn't wake up today. And what I love about the entrepreneurs is they're the creators. They're the ones that want to change the world. And, they actually do change the world because they see something they don't like. And it's like, okay, let's do something about this, right? They don't
It's like one of my favorite interviews on the Swedish Wealth Institute podcast was with Marcy Shimoff, who wrote the New York Times bestseller Happy for No Reason. Because entrepreneurs, high achievement individuals are, we're always looking for a reason to be happy. If I achieve this goal, I can celebrate it. If I accomplish this, I deserve to be happy. And her whole philosophy is no, no, we don't, it's not the goal, it's the journey. Like, be
Mm.
happy today because you might as well, right? It's a state you decide. So that was a really cool episode for me, and really helped me a lot.
I'm curious about your journey, your personal development journey, and why is it that you had such a big leap of change that's happened in the last year? Like, was there a turning point for you, or where did it start for you?
Yeah, so one of our core philosophies in the company, so obviously we've scaled now. So now we've had to codify everything, as, we have our internal brand book that has our culture and everything about us. And it was really a cool soul search to build this out, because, we have 6 core values in the business. And as we were looking through them, it's easy to put your core values out there. But then, I had to go through the exercise of going, well, do I actually live this? Is this actually my core values? And it was really interesting, challenging myself with that, and challenging the core team is, well, what happens when 2 of your supposed core values clash? Which one is the most important, and how do they relate to each other? So our 6, to kind of frame this, is our first one is, we call it extreme ownership, which basically means you do what you say you're going to do. If a task is on your table, you make sure it's done to the best possible ability. If something goes wrong and it's on your watch, you take the responsibility. And that goes for me, because everything in the company is on my watch. Doesn't matter who was responsible of it. And we're not looking to blame. We're looking at, okay, so what went wrong? Why did it go wrong? How do we make sure this doesn't happen in the future? And that last part became a really important one for me, because I was in a partnership about 6 years ago now. And when you're an entrepreneur, we throw dirt against the wall, and we see what sticks, right? We get all these ideas, all these opportunities, and we see what works, which means there's a lot of dirt that doesn't stick. Things go wrong. And we were in this partnership, and that was kind of my philosophy. We'll try things out, we'll do things, kind of the Facebook break things, right? Move fast, break things. And something broke. And consistently things would break. And they hated that, because they were true perfectionists, which is okay. It just didn't mesh with the way we worked. So whenever anything broke, they wanted to find out who screwed up. You should feel bad about this, and now we're done. It wasn't like, let's fix it. It's just like, you should know that you screwed up and you should not do it again. And the partnership, I mean, obviously this was not a good match, but the moment we said we're out, was me and my then ex-wife, who was a partner in that business as well. We were sitting at the living room table, or kitchen table, and we were discussing an idea like, oh, this would be so fun to implement. But we kind of went, well, yeah, but if we do it, everything's not going to go perfect at first, and things are going to go wrong. And oh man, I don't want to take that conversation with them. And we noticed, like, wait a sec, we don't want to innovate in this business anymore, because we don't want to take the conversation when every innovation isn't perfect. And that's when we instantly knew we got to get out. That's not who we are. We're always looking to grow. But that's why an important part of extreme ownership for us now is not who screwed up. It's, why did this happen? And how do we systemically make sure that it doesn't happen again? And so whenever we do any of our events, there's 100 moving pieces in those events. So
Mm.
I know when you build that whole process, the person in charge of building it, human error is going to be, if they get 90% right, it's awesome. But that still means there's 10 big things that are broken and will ruin the customer experience. So we can't say, well, you screwed up, punish. It's instead, all right, so how do we systemically build a system that catches the problems we know will always pop up and they'll always be different? And so we just added a process where we double check and we triple check. And by the triple check, well, now everything should be pretty cool. And of course, if you found something that restarts the whole process again because you fix it and now you go double check and triple check on that fix. So it does create a loop. That means we put a lot of time into that double and triple check, but finally it's perfect. And that's the point we say, great, now this is greenlit and we can move on. So that's our first value. Our second value is 1% better every day. And
Mm.
this comes to the true answer to your question there about how did we explode, is my philosophy, and this isn't just in the business, this is every part of my life. I'm always trying to get 1% better every day. And, that 1% is imperceptibly small, right? That can be, I took care of my health today, or in the business, it could be, hey, wait a sec, if we change this, this paragraph in this one email, but we do that becomes a template for all coming events. And each event will have 10 emails, so you're changing one paragraph in one email, one place. That's a tiny change to a structure. But if you do that, now we're 1% better. And if everyone in the business does everything 1% better every single day, just finds one thing that could be improving with themselves, with the business, and their relationships, all these things, that starts to compound. And
Mm.
sometimes you don't see it. Sometimes it can go weeks without seeing anything. And then all of a sudden that explodes from down below the surface and everything changes overnight. And that's kind of what happened to me. Is I'd been running the Swedish Wealth Institute. This is our 10-year anniversary of the
Wow.
company.
Congratulations.
Yeah, this year. Thank you. We're now officially 10 years and 2 weeks old at the time of this recording.
Wow.
And but what most people outside of the Nordics, and even in the Nordics, didn't know who we were until 14 months ago, when we expanded out into Europe, and then into North America, and then into the Asia Pacific, and Oceania. And all of a sudden we're a global company. And that was 8.5 years of being a very local company, and then 14 years of explosion all over the world. And we literally 10x the company last year. um,
Wow.
and it's all these small things that have compounded over time that allowed us to take that step. And that's why it's our second, it's a core value. Do you want me to go through all six?
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
loving this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. And that's where they say, it takes a lifetime to be an overnight success, right? It's like, that
Yeah.
exponential curve, chug, 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 and then
Well,
suddenly,
that's actually a funny story. One of our speakers gave us an award this summer where we were the year's, I think it was like breakout event creator. And he's on stage. This was in London, and it was just really fun. And meeting people. We so much of what we do is virtual like this, so just hanging out. So I flew into London, and he goes on stage and he's like, all right, we're going to do the award show. And all right, I really want to, this guy's, they've come out of nowhere, and, they've just broken out. They've done all this. And I'm kind of sitting there going like, well, I've been doing this for a decade, right? Like,
right?
it's not like I just woke up one day and did this. I've been doing it for a decade, but we've only been working together since we came out of the Nordics. So it really is like an overnight success takes a decade to get to.
Yes, or for some people longer, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Robert Kiyosaki, he did Rich Dad Poor Dad in 1997. In year 2000, he was on Oprah, and suddenly at the end of the show, 3 years after he put that book out, suddenly he sells 1 million books at the end of the Oprah
Yeah.
show back then. So,
Well,
it's
and that was one of the greatest interviews we've done on the Swedish Wealth Institute podcast, was when I got to sit down, because we're partners to the Rich Dad organization. So getting to sit down with Robert Kiyosaki and hear, like, even how he created the book. It wasn't to write a book. Their whole passion is the cash flow 101 board game.
mm,
And Kim, his then wife, Kim Kiyosaki, who created all this together with him, they were kind of saying, how do we get this game out? And he said, well, you know what? I'm going to go create a pamphlet, and we'll have a pamphlet and I'll explain it. And so he goes into his office, and he's working, and like weeks go by, and she keeps going like, dude, where's the pamphlet? Like, I want to put this out. Like, our partners are asking for this now. And he's like, yeah, it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. And then, it took however many months, but then he comes out and like, yes, here is the book. It's like, book? You were supposed to create a pamphlet. What
Uh-huh.
happened? Like, what are you doing? And
Uh-huh.
they self-published the book and sold nothing. They did not sell a thing, and they got like friends who were entrepreneurs to put it in their business. I think it was Kim told me this when I spoke to her. I think they had a friend who owned like a car wash, and they were allowed to put the books in like a pyramid by the car wash. And a guy bought like all the books on that stand and then calls them up and goes like, well, I need more of your books. And it's just like, these movies where they joke, it's like, I've bought your book. Like, oh, you're the one. Like, it
Yeah.
literally was like, you bought the only sold book. Like, you are the one. This is awesome. And it turns out that this gentleman was a top leader in the network marketing Amway. And he
Ah,
said, this is perfect for us. Can we buy 1,000 books? And
wow.
that's when it became like the book for Amway. And that's what then, it took 3 years for it to get to the New York Times bestseller list. And that's where Oprah heard of it. And then that exploded it in the United States. And then they started doing events internationally. They had partners who brought them internationally. And that's how they became an international brand. So it's this whole like 1%. You do one little thing here, you do one little thing there. It was the same thing with Jack Canfield and the Chicken Soup for the Soul. That interview we just published. So the two authors of Chicken Soup for the Soul were Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen. So the
Mm.
Jack Canfield episode is one of our most popular we've done, and he talks about this whole journey. The episode with Mark Victor Hansen just literally dropped a couple hours ago, and comes from his perspective because he's more the sales guy of the two of them, and was just really interesting. Exact same kind of concept, obviously completely different journey, but same kind of ideas of step by step, and that just compounds, and then all of a sudden you realize you've exploded. So sorry,
Wow.
I kind of lost track of the values. Want me to go back to that?
Oh, yeah, that was all really interesting. Thank you for sharing. Yes, let's go back to the values. Thanks.
Right. So this third one, this was a really interesting one for us because our third value is health and family. And it's one of these where this is key. Like, I care so much about health. We train our team in health and wellness and stress relief and all these things. But now the question is, sometimes health and family conflicts with extreme ownership. And so we had to go, well, how do we deal with this? Like, what do we do if I have something that has to be delivered, but I also have a crisis, a family crisis? And that's a really hard one. How do you kind of put those next to each other? And what we basically ended up doing was we said, look, extreme ownership is the number one. That is our first value. You got to be able to put that first. Now, that doesn't mean like if your child is in danger, you ignore your child and do your thing. But it does mean that you can't just leave a job undone. Like next week we have a summit. If something has to be done by next week's summit, you took responsibility for it. You got to make sure it gets done. That doesn't mean you have to do it, but you can't just leave it. Everyone expects it to be done. You got to say, look, something's come up. I won't be able to be there. This is a task I'm now not doing. Here, someone else has to take it. And then you can run away and take care of your family because obviously that is super, super important. But that was one where we really soul searched in ourselves and went, okay, so how do we handle these two sides? And we found that kind of how do we naturally feel about it is, well, we have to do, we have to take care of the company because we're a team and we're together. You can't drop the ball. That might screw up, 6 months of works preparing an event, and you lost focus because of something and the whole event goes wrong because people can't access the feed because you didn't do what you're supposed to do. No, you got to make sure that's done, but you don't have to do it if something else comes up. And so this, I think, is an important stress test of values where you got to look at yourself and go, well, the values look great when everything is great. What do you do when things go wrong? How do these play with each other? And that was a really important exercise for us, and kind of led us into the fourth one, which is honesty and transparency. which again was an interesting one to discuss, because it's really important to be honest with each other. It's really important to be transparent, not just internally in the team, but with our partners, with our clients. But when we started stress testing it, we got into that situation of, okay, so what happens to honesty and transparency when we're in a negotiation? Right? So if I'm negotiating with a partner who wants me to pay $25,000 a year and I want to pay $20,000 a year, and technically I could afford 25 and I would say yes to 25, but of course it's better for the company if I can get them down to 20. Where does honesty and transparency come into that? And that was an interesting, like, is it a lie if I say I don't want to go higher than 20 when actually I'm okay with 25? And it might feel like a ridiculous question because, of course, you're going to negotiate and, of course, you're going to try to get the best deal. But does that conflict with our core values? And we have to kind of look at it and go, well, look, we are big. What this means to us is we don't have any secrets. Like I've made so many mistakes as an entrepreneur, and I don't try to hide them. For me, those are lessons that I share. I don't have skeletons in my closet. I have lessons we can learn from. Like when I lost 400,000 pounds in my first few property deals and essentially went bankrupt, that's not something I should hide and be embarrassed about. I was just starting out. Like it was hard and I got it wrong because I trusted the wrong people. So let's make sure we all learn from that so other people don't make that mistake. That's honesty and transparency. And we never want to outright lie, but maybe you don't always have to shove the entire truth in someone's face. Like you can tell them you never lie, but you might not have to tell your partner in the negotiation that, yeah, honestly, I would take 25K, but please give me 20. No, you might say, look, my finance manager won't allow me to go over 20. That's where we are right now. Can you come and can you meet me on that? So it's one of those where how do you make sure the values are applicable everywhere, so that we're defining them right? And this might feel like a ridiculous example, but this was an example we discussed of, if we're going to say we're going to be honest and transparent, we want to be honest and transparent everywhere. So how do we make sure we are, whilst also, doing what's right for the company and being able to be tough in negotiations and stuff. And it does mean we do share a lot more in a negotiation than most people probably would, but we share to prove our point why they should be giving us the discount we're looking for. We're telling them, like, look, this is how our margins look. This is how our revenue model looks. This is like a lot of this is not a smart way of doing things, but this is where we're at. So I need you to help me out with this. And so it was a very interesting conversation. Our final two values
That is
are,
just
yes,
on
right?
that point, that is absolutely fascinating when you share about that, when you go to that kind of detail. It's interesting. I looked into lies on one of my Global Good News challenges I did. I did 9 days of videos talking about different types of lies. Like there's white lies, there's all these different types of lies that people say, whether it's to themselves or to others. And they could be, little lies, and they justify it and say, oh, that's okay, or, that will just hurt someone if I tell them the absolute truth on that thing, or whatever it is. It's also about honoring your own boundaries. So I think, there's this thing about being truthful and honest to yourself and having strong boundaries that, where you're, comfortable to, to outlay a certain amount or whatever it is, and just to have a straight conversation with someone, around business, around what you are willing to pay or what you're not willing to pay. You don't necessarily have to reveal all of your.
That's a great example you said there. This truth will hurt someone. Now, that's one of the ones we also looked at is, well, if it needs to be said, yes, then you'll have to hurt that person. But if it doesn't need to be said, you don't have to tell them the whole truth. Like, I'll have one of our speakers is absolutely amazing, and 99.99% of all of his clients rave over him. Occasionally we'll get that 0.01% where the problem isn't really the speaker. The problem is the client, right? Sometimes people just don't work, right? And it's sometimes it's just simply they didn't mesh with that personality. Sometimes it's the type of person who won't mesh with any personality, right? We had one client who basically sent me a list of I bought programs from all of these speakers and every one of them sucks. And I'm like, well, 99.9% of the clients say each one of these speakers is absolutely amazing. And I get, something might go wrong. You have a bad experience with one, like that will happen. Like an email didn't show up because it got caught in spam and it created a bad taste in your mouth. And, shit happens. I get that. But when it's with 5 different speakers who I know for a fact are all amazing, there is one common denominator. Maybe that's the problem. And so
Mhm.
then I don't have to go to my speaker and say, "Hey, look, I just want to let you know that," like, if it's a problem, yeah, and in this one case I'm actually thinking of, I did go to the speakers, just, "Look, I just want to let you know they said this happened, but also this is the around." But in other times, I don't even go to the speaker because it's like this isn't relevant feedback for them, so they don't
Mm.
actually need to know. I'll deal with it and I'll protect, because a lot of these speakers, they're so passionate. Their psyches are fragile because they're literally giving their soul. And if someone goes, "Well, this sucked," that it becomes really personal. So sometimes I just go, "You know what? That isn't something the speaker needs to improve. So it's not something they need to know. So I'll just be in the way. I'll just remove that." And that was an important part of that honesty and feedback, is that doesn't mean we have to be, just an open conduit of you can put any garbage in and we will spit that garbage out. It's, we also have to be smart and say, well, this story, this information will make lives better. That has to be shared. Like my screw ups help other people avoid screw ups. That has to be shared. That should never be hidden. Not a single part of it. All of that should come out because everything is a lesson. But negative feedback for negative feedback's sake, like, no, that's not useful for anybody.
Yeah, and some people just love to live in drama, so they'll just whinge about everything no matter what,
Yeah.
and they won't take any responsibility for any of it. It's always someone else's fault, so you do also have to protect your energy, and you have to toughen
Yeah.
yourself to criticism when you're, scaling your business or when you're building your profile. You're putting yourself out there, you're sharing from the heart, and everyone has their opinion and judgment of what you're presenting, because
Yeah.
that's how we work. We all have our own filters, right?
Yeah. Oh,
And
that's one of
and
the hardest parts for me. I really want to be liked. And
right.
as an entrepreneur running this, a business with thousands and thousands of attendees, and what we're really doing is, and I'll share our methodology, what we're really doing is giving people a roadmap for success and
Mm,
giving them all the tools and giving them all the contacts and connections and community, like everything you need to be able to go out and create your dream life, except doing it for them. Like we
mm,
cannot do it for you. You got to do it. And even if you follow everything perfectly, you will have ups and downs because the world changes. Like I didn't expect COVID to happen and it completely changed our business and industry. And that was really hard. Things will happen, but we give all the tools and the information. But sometimes things go wrong and therefore it is hard. Like there will always be someone that will point the finger and say, "Well, this event wasn't what I expected. This wasn't good enough. I didn't get the help I needed here." And we're like, "Dude, we're trying, but we're doing it for thousands of people." But I hate every single one of those negative feedback. And there's not a lot, but because of the way I am personally, those do get amplified. And I think that's for most humans, right? You can get
mm.
100 compliments and you get one person saying something negative and you go like, "Oh my God, the world hates me."
Yeah, some people say if you're not getting enough people that don't like your stuff, then you're not playing a big enough game, because that's just
Exactly.
that's just part of it. You're never going to please everybody.
Yeah.
And I think it is so important to speak your truth and speak what's on your mind, and be selective about who you share your energy with, and who, some people just are energy vampires, probably
Yeah.
like that person who was knocking every single program they bought. They're probably never
Yeah.
happy with anything in their life. And I always say,
Yeah.
hurt people hurt people. So that
Yeah.
person, I always say, will send them love. I mean, obviously do what you can in business to
Yeah.
to help
Oh, and
ease
that's
the.
the problem too, is that it's exactly as you say, it's hurt people. And it's like, that they have this problem. It's like, well, look, I have Marcy. She can help you. We have this new partnership with Petra. She can help you. Like and Rory can like we have people that can help you. Like I want to help you, but they also have to want to be helped. And that's the problem, I think, for anyone who's ever loved anyone with an addiction. It's one of those where it's like, I'm here, I want, like, whatever you need, I'm there for you. But if they aren't willing to accept it, then it doesn't matter. And I think that's a hard part with what we do is, I feel like we have, we got the holy grail here, and I want everyone to have it, and I want everyone to love it and live that dream life. But they have to be willing to take that step and do it, because we can't do it for you, because then it's not, it's not internalized. That's like
Yeah.
winning the lottery.
Yes, it's like a caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly unless it goes through that cocoon process, and
Exactly.
it has to build the strength to have the blood in the wings to be able to fly. And it's the
Yeah.
same with humans, and you do have to want it. You've got to, have that, I guess, lust for life, or lust to make the most of life. Otherwise you just stay in comfort zone forever. I mean, in Australia, we pay people not to work here in Australia because the government's very generous with their handouts, and so a lot of people just take advantage of the system, and they have this mentality that the government owes them a living, or that others owe them a living. This that's happening with a lot of even the new generation now coming through. There's this sense of entitlement, so I think it's an interesting world we're coming into, I think.
Well, I
and
mean,
and
we have that partially in Sweden, but at the same time, I think people who sit at home and have that entitlement feeling, I think they innately want more. They just don't know how. They don't know where to start. There's reasons behind it. And that, again, that becomes a part of our passion, is how can we wake both the spirit, the courage that they can do more, that they can be more, and show them how possible that is. Like with the
Mhm.
interview we did, which is a part of our um Creators of Impact series, where what we're really trying to show with that series is, these are people who simply used social media to change their lives. And the you can get millions of followers just off of doing selfie videos and creating cool content, and it's available for everybody, and you can make hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars as a result. So it's one of those, like, we want to show these people that might not think that they deserve it, that they can't do it, that it's not available, that it's the rich people's fault, or it's these people's fault, or whatever it is. It's like, no, no, look, the tools are there for you. You just don't know how to use them yet, but that's okay. We'll show you. And I think that's a big problem we have in society. Everyone is pointing at everyone else, saying they're the problem. And if we can just get inside that armor and help people see that, look, we don't need to change the system. We just need everyone to understand the system. And if they do, everyone can become the top 1% if they want to. And then if you know how to become the top 1% in wealth and whatever, you don't have to be. You can just work yourself into the 10 or 20 or top 50, and you will be fine. You just need to understand the system. And this is what most people never learn, because it's not taught in schools.
Yes, and really it's all a game. This whole experience of life is really one big game, and I love the cash flow game, by the way, coming back to that.
Mm,
Life is
yeah.
one big game, and none of us are going to get out alive. So it's like, well, how are you going to play the game of life? Do you want to live an empowered life, or do you want to live a miserable life? And it's all a choice in every single moment. So what are you
Yeah.
going to choose today? Because absolutely, I believe anyone can do anything if they really put their mind to it, if they have the right mentors, if they have the right tools, and they really want it. You've got to want
Yeah.
it, right? And you've got to be willing to do the work, as you say. And so for you, no doubt, over 10 years, you've been doing the work, and you keep doing the work, and you surround yourself with some extraordinary people. I mean, your event that I attended was amazing, and it was.
We've just been very blessed with the people we work with. And that's where that's again, it's as you say, if you have the right tools, if you have the right mentors, then if you want to, you can do it. And there are
Mm,
so many people sitting at home who are like, but I don't have these tools. I don't have these mentors. I don't even know where to find a mentor. Like, what is a mentor? Well, that's where we're trying to kind of get into come in through whatever media they're looking through, and kind of go, well, here they are.
mm.
The doors are open. We'll remove that obstacle, because that obstacle is really hard. Like, I didn't know how to solve that. It wasn't until, like, I was very lucky. I was like 20 years old, and Brian Tracy came to Sweden, and the company I worked for happened to give us tickets to go and see him. but even after seeing that first presentation, I was lost. Like I read hundreds of personal development books and I still had no idea what to do. Like
Right.
this was a long slog before that decade of slog as an entrepreneur. Like it was, it was a decade of study before then to kind of figure out how do I do this? Like I don't no one in my family was an entrepreneur. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know what the tools were. I didn't know I could just go and register a business and, how does that work? Like there are so many parts that we don't know and that's okay. But
Mm,
that's I think the reason why so many people feel stuck and feel mistreated and all that. And that's why we're trying to kind of like, no, here it all is. Here's everything you need. Now the only missing ingredient is you, and you are awesome. So let's do it. And if you
mm,
need help feeling awesome, here are lots of people that specialize in helping you feel awesome. So let's do it.
mm.
And that's really the mission.
Yeah, beautiful. Absolutely love that. So was that all the values covered, or do we
No,
have
so
some
we
more?
have two
Two.
values left.
Okay.
And these really are about kind of how we communicate externally and internally and just what is it we want people to get out of what they do when they connect with us. So the first one is we call it proof over promises, empowerment through connection, accessibility for all. So basically what we've been talking about, right? We want to empower you through connecting to a community, meeting the right mentors, meeting other people on the journey. We're not going to close this off to anyone. Most of our, if not all of our events are free to join. Our community is only 27 euros a month. And usually we try to find ways to put a trial in front of people where, we want to make sure that everyone has access to everything at all times and at least get started. Then, of course, if you want to go deeper into something with one of the speakers and mentors, yeah, you might have to buy some of their more advanced courses, but there's always a level of you get enough that you can actually start doing it yourself. Learn what questions do I need to ask to make it accessible. And then our whole key is like it should be like it's proof. It's like, for example, when we put together our 7-step process, the Swedish Wealth Institute methodology, first we sat down with all the speakers we know and all these amazing people and kind of went, well, what are the 7 steps? And they were really good. And it's like, oh, awesome, we got it. But then we went, well, actually, though, this is a bunch of people sitting in a room trying to figure this out. Let's see how this plays in reality. And we did 2 separate stress tests of the methodology. The first one was we looked at the most successful companies and people of all time and looked at our 7 steps and then looked at and then we just threw out the 7 steps. So let's put that to the side. Let's look at these companies and go, all right, so what did they do? What did these people do? What do they have in common? What did they do differently? And looked at how they sized up next to these 7 steps. And I mean, a lot of the 7 steps were in many ways correct, but they were incomplete. There were details to each one that really had to be fleshed out. And once we'd gone through that and looked at the most successful people and businesses in the industry and looked at, all right, how did we got in search world and we looked at study after study after study and we only did reputable universities and peer reviewed studies and kind of went, all right, so how do actual like closed loop studies see these steps? Like what have they looked at? And we found 78 different studies that proved these steps and helped us refine them further. And that's what created the 7 steps. So it wasn't just us sitting in a room going, yeah, of course you gotta take action. That's awesome. But it's like, well, all right, but what does this mean in reality? And what is the deeper meaning of this? And it took, again, it's the proof over promises. It's not just a little fun exercise. It's how does this play out in the real world and in different situations? Does it work within health, money, career, business, spiritual development? We wanted them to be timeless principles that will work in every area. And it took going through this loop of everything to truly create that real version, not just these sound good when you say them.
I love that attention to detail. That is very cool. And,
We're
they
very
don't,
nerdy as a company, yeah.
yeah, don't let perfection get in the way of progress, but there's definitely, a lot of perfection there too, I think, in going to that kind of detail. And obviously, your events are extraordinary. So, sometimes if you don't have that attention to detail, it doesn't come across quite the same. So I guess it is an ongoing process, because even when we
Oh,
think
yeah,
it's
I mean, our first events, I'm really happy you didn't come to our first summits
right.
because, they were just not at that level, nowhere close, and it was like, every summit will have 2, 3 pages full of, notes of like, "Wow, we should have done this better." And then we implement them, and then the next summit we we don't make those mistakes, but we find all kinds of new things. And it's been event after event, and now we're finally at a place where it's like, yeah, they're pretty good, but we still have half a page to a page worth of notes at the end of it, with like, yeah, it wasn't perfect though.
There's always more you can do. And I mean, I was very grateful. I won the 6 months of membership
Yeah.
to Swedish Wealth Institute, which was a big bonus. And that was for social media posts, right? So I thought
Yep.
that's a very good strategy, very smart way to get the name out to more people and
Yep.
utilize people's communities. So, yeah, that was a
Yeah,
great
and the
addition.
thing is, it's a beautiful win-win because I mean, we want to get people into the community, right? We want you to be a part of that. And like, you'll see what we're developing right now. Like, what the community will be in 2 months is completely different from today. Like, the growth of it is incredible, which is super fun. Um, and if we didn't get you in, we wouldn't have you to see that. So
Mm,
it's a whole, all these things kind of stick together, and that's what makes it so enjoyable. The last value, well, last value, one, the sixth key value
yes.
is, we say anyone that has anything to do with the Swedish Wealth Institute should make money. And that means our clients, they should get so much value that, if they end up going and buying a course from one of our speakers or joining the community, and, they spend 500 or 1,000 or, tens of thousands of dollars, they should be making more. Like, if they spend 500, they should make 5,000. Then they might take some of that and buy a new course for, 2,000. So great. Now they should make 20. And that's how we win together. And the same goes for our speakers. Any speaker that's involved with us should make money. Anyone who shares about our events with friends are affiliates. They get an affiliate fee. They should make money. And everywhere where we can work with people, where people are connected with us, we should be providing value to their lives, so they're growing more than, they're getting an outsized share compared to the time, energy, or money they put in. They should be getting more out. And we use money because it's very easily trackable, but it does go for everything. They should be getting more energy. They should get, as much in relationship value from us as we get from them, if not more. And but we use money because it's very easy otherwise to kind of go, well, they spent this money and look how great they feel now. It doesn't matter that they didn't earn more. They feel good. And it's like, no, if you spent on a training, you should feel good, but you should also make a good ROI on that investment. So
Mm,
it's a part as well. I've made sure we chosen these words very well as well for like, I'm going to be in the company for decades, but at some point I'm not going to be running the business anymore. And I want to make sure that what we stand for lives beyond me, so that doesn't change. And that's why we've chosen the word money, so that we can't go like, well, maybe that's not so important. They will be happy for other reasons. It's like, no, it's going to be a direct ROI, and they're going to be happy for other reasons.
mhm. It's interesting, that we're even saying the word money, people are going to have things coming up for them right now, I'm
Mm,
sure, tuning in. Some people are going to have like, "Oh, I don't need money, I just wanna be happy."
yeah.
Well, you can have money and be happy at the same time, and money just makes you more of who you already are anyway, right? But a
Yeah,
lot of
and
people have very
it makes it easier. I think whatever the stat is, like 50-70% of divorces are because of money issues. Like,
mm,
well, let's remove that then. If you're going to get divorced, get divorced for a problem that isn't actually easily solvable. And it's so much stress and pressure, and like, a lot of the feeling bad is because we don't have enough money. So let's solve that. And then, of
Yeah.
course, that doesn't solve everything else. You still got to take care of your health. You still got to work on your emotions and your
Mm.
spirituality and your relationships and your mission in life and why you were put here. But let's make sure money isn't a constraint.
Yes, and there is actually an abundance of money out there. There's just a wealth distribution issue that's happening across the world, right? That there actually is an abundance.
And
And
that's where we come back to with our accessibility for all,
mm,
because I don't believe that disparity is because of the money being split wrong. It's because the knowledge is split wrong. You
right.
could tax everyone. You know, if the governments all came together and said, "We're going to hit the reset button. We're going to click, and everyone's going to have exactly the same amount of money, whatever that is. Everyone gets, let's call it $100,000. Everyone in the world, boom, done." In theory, awesome. Give it 5 to 10 years and we'll be right back where we started, because
Mm,
the people who are the top 1% know different things than the rest of us. And
mm,
that's the most important. If we can know what they know, we don't
mm,
need their money. We'll earn it ourselves. We might not catch up like the $1 trillion. Like, yeah, that might take a few generations, but that doesn't matter. I think it was Bill Gates who said, if you have $100 million, there is nothing more you can buy. You can buy everything. You can live full out every way possible if you know how to manage it. You don't need more than that. That after that, it's just game. It's just chips at the poker table.
and that's why, a lot of people who win the lotto often lose it all within, or spend it all within a few years, because people who receive a lot of money, often they don't feel the worthiness of that money, and then
Yeah,
they just waste it in other ways. So I think a
exactly.
lot of this is to be able to retain the financial success that you gain, to be able
Yeah.
to keep that. You've got to have a level of self-worth and self-confidence and that knowledge and the right mentors. And I think a lot of people have been burned over time. There's been a lot of scam artists out there,
Oh,
a lot
this
of people
industry is
uh,
so horrible. The industry where we're working in, and that's one of our big core missions is how, because these scam artists are such great salespeople,
sure.
and it's really hard both for us and everyone else to kind of see through that, but
Yep.
also for a lot of the companies that are similar to us that run events, they're so good salespeople, so they make lots of money, and we've consistently said no. Like, money's great, it allows us a bigger, to expand our message, but if that's on in detriment of our clients, no, I don't want your money, go away, and we'll find someone who's also good at selling, but that then actually delivers and that
Mm,
actually has an impact. But that is a hard decision. Like, when we started out, our first year, it was actually a speaker who got us to start the company in the first place. That first year, he was about 90% of our revenue. And during the second year, we started getting feedback from clients who said, you know what? I feel ripped off. It just hasn't worked. Basically, I was going to start my company. I had these savings. I spent all the money on education through him, and now I can't afford to start my company and run it because I gave all the money to him. And it was one of those, like, oh man, this is not okay. And yes, we were making great money, but I went to him and I said, "You're out. Like, you will never speak on our stages again." And he just looked at me and went, "You do realize I am 90% of your business. You don't have a business without me." I said, "Well, I'd rather not have a business than have one with you." And we fired him. And interestingly, we doubled our revenue that second year.
wow. Extraordinary.
So we got a quick feedback that doing the right thing is right. But even if we hadn't gotten that instant feedback, I hope that I would have reacted the same way and said that was the 100% right decision and we'll make it again. Now it's very easy because I did get that positive feedback. So I think, the
Mm,
whatever you want to call it, if you call it God or the universe or law of attraction, someone was looking out for me to make sure I got the right lesson from it.
I do believe in karma, and I think what goes around comes around. So doing the
Yeah.
right thing by people, I think, is really, really important, and treating others as you want to be treated as well. And also choosing carefully. I think sometimes
Yeah.
with who you keep in your inner circle, and
Oh
really
yeah.
trusting your intuition, do the inner work to trust yourself and back yourself as well. So yeah, there's quite a lot involved in this, and I can't wait to hear your 7 steps to financial success.
Yeah.
You've
Yeah, we've
detailed.
just talked about our values. So this process that we've now put together and stress tested through all these different methods and all these different areas, we're very proud of. And they we've kind of summarized them in like a simple, one line for each of the 7. But in each one, there's just so much more that goes into it that you gotta, dig into. But the first one is pretty much what we've been talking about the whole time. It's your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. And so it all starts with, what are your standards? What do you expect of yourself and others? What's your identity? What's your integrity? How do you manage your energy? So health comes into this right away as well. What beliefs do you have? And beliefs are both, what are our belief systems that we might have gotten from earlier generations and ourselves and our traumas and all that, but also, our spiritual beliefs. What do we believe and trust? So all that comes together, and basically what you then experience in the outer world is a mirror of all these different parts in your inner world. And if you're not getting the outward results, that's where we got to start, is seeing, well, maybe you aren't taking care of your health. You just don't have the energy to do what it takes. Or, maybe there is a trauma that you might not even know or remember you've suppressed, that we got to deal with because it's holding you back. Like, you might not be able to communicate with certain types of people because they trigger you, or you have like chronic pains because of this trauma, or other parts. So we got to start on the inside, and I don't want to say fix, because you're not broken, but work on that. Find a way to be the best version of you, because that will allow you just automatically to upgrade your entire life experience.
Yes,
So that's the first one.
100%. 100%. That insight is so important. So many people are carrying around trauma from, under the age of 7. And if you're not conscious of what these traumas are and you don't deal with the traumas, well, you're just going to take them right through to the end of your life in this version of reality that we're living anyway. We know that the minute we die, our body becomes lighter, our soul goes somewhere, whatever your beliefs are around that. But while we're having this existence, there's a lot of people that are very wounded, unfortunately. And so that's where they say, well, hurt people, healed people, heal people as well. And this is where, the speakers you have done so much work on themselves, which is why they're at a point that they're at. And I can see that you've handpicked some of the world's best. I mean, I absolutely love Les Brown as well. Les Brown and Nick Vujicic are 2 of my favorite all-time speakers. And so many others, they're extraordinary lineup of people.
I mean, getting to speak with them on the like, I love that they speak at our summits, but for me personally, getting to sit down with them on a podcast like this was, I get stars. A lot of people don't like getting starstruck because, you're too nice to. I love it. Like, these are people I looked up to for decades, and I'm now talking to them. Like, it's awesome. And, many of them I consider friends today. It doesn't matter. I'm still starstruck. Like last year I was invited. I wasn't able to go, sadly, but I was invited to Robert's birthday party. Like,
Wow.
just the fact that Robert Kiyosaki is sending me a birthday party invitation is insane. It killed me that I couldn't go. But like, of course I'm starstruck. Like, yeah, we're business partners and friends and all that, but like, he's still Robert Kiyosaki. It's awesome.
Yes,
And so I love it. I think that's a part of, just enjoying life, is allowing yourself to just absolutely enjoy the people you're allowed to hang out with, whether they're friends or celebrities or just people that just cherish you and you cherish. Just allow yourself to be like, wow, this is so awesome. This person is in my life. That's amazing.
And that's where proximity is power. And obviously you've added so much value to his life that he values you very highly to invite you to his birthday party. So that says a lot.
It was me and like 500 other people. I'm not going to hype this up to be like it was me and 10 people. We were a lot of people who got the invite. But yeah, the fact that I was on that list is amazing.
Yes, amazing. Oh, I love that. I think it's so important. Yes, Yes, you have to do the work on yourself. And it's an
Yeah.
ongoing journey too. Like,
Oh,
I've
yeah.
invested $1 million in my business and personal development in 20 years, and I keep
Mhm.
investing. I constantly
Yeah.
invest. And yes, I've been burned multiple times. And there's a reason we attract why we attract. I think everything happens for you, not to you. So,
Yeah.
what are the learnings in
I
this?
I say that too, I love that. And I mean, with that said, I've had challenge like, I was ripped off for 400,000 pounds, and that happened for me, not to me. It was horrible, but
Mm,
it was also amazing. Now, there are things, obviously, that people have experienced that are at, levels way beyond the betrayals that I have, and so I have a hard time telling them, "Look, it happens for you, not to you." And so I think everyone has to do that journey.
yeah.
But for me in my life, everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, has truly happened for me, not to me. Even though in the moment you're not going like, "Oh wow, what a gift! I just got ripped off from my life savings and all my friends' life savings, and I have to
Mhm.
call them up and tell them I lost everything." And luckily we've been able to make sure everyone got their money back, so like we're not going in deep in that story, so I just want everyone to know it's like happy ending, it's okay.
Right.
Even though it took time,
Yes,
lots of time and energy and stuff, but it happened
yes.
for me, not to me. But I know I don't want to say that's the fact for everyone, because there are people, like Warren Buffett says it so well. He won the ovarian lottery, right? The fact that he was born where he was born, in the in the place, the time, the opportunity, and back when he was born to be, a white man in Omaha, like there were reasons why he became successful. If he had been born in a third world country, he wouldn't have become Warren Buffett. So
Mm,
there's I say it happens for me, not to me, with the caveat that that is my life experience, and hopefully
yes.
we can help everyone get to that same level. But again, there everyone's had a different experience.
Yeah, that's true. And often, you don't see the breakthrough at the end of the breakdown at the time. Like I've,
Yeah,
sometimes it's been years later that I look back at a horrible situation where I've been ripped off, and I
yeah,
thought, oh my goodness, that's why that happened. And often
yeah,
it's led to something much bigger. It's led to big decisions that have shifted my whole trajectory moving forward. And,
yeah.
and it's actually
Well,
been
look
a
at Nick
blessing.
Vujicic, right? Born without arms, without legs, failed to take his own life. I mean, this was such an emotional interview when we talked about this, and he told me all these things. And yet look at who he is now. So and that's also part of it, is like when Nick says it, that he's coming from a different level of negative experience than I am, even though there was a time I considered maybe the world would be better if I took my life, and I'm obviously very happy that that was just a fleeting thought, and I went, no, no.
Yes, thank goodness. And a lot of people battle with it. 1 in 3 people or so battle with depression. I've had it myself. I've had 4 friends take their own lives by the age of 45. So it's a real thing for
Wow.
people. There's going to be
Yeah,
times you're going to feel really crap in life,
yeah,
and there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, I always say.
yeah,
So hang in there. Hang in there.
yeah.
So what else have we got in our 7 steps,
Right, so
Daniel?
that's the first step, is work on you first. The second step is all about clarity. So it's know where you are and where you wanna go. So and it's important, both these parts. It's about understanding where am I now and being brutally honest with yourself. And this is one of the things we're developing in the community. This is why I say like what's coming is so cool, because
Mm,
we're building a system that will allow you to fully identify where am I now, and truly get that as like a computer game character sheet. Like this is my level right now in all the different areas of my life, and this is where I'm improving from. And it's going to be so cool, because then we're going to look at, all right, so where is it I want to go? And that's equally as important, like what is my end goal? And you it's easy to say like you don't have to know exactly, and that's not true. You do, but you don't need to know exactly now, right? It's an ongoing process, but the clearer that future is, the better. Like if you know exactly this is where I am now and this is where I'm going, basically life and success is like setting a GPS on your phone. It's like, great. I This is where I am, this is where I'm going, and that leads into the third step, which is choosing your path. basically in the GPS example, what is the vehicle I'm going to take to drive from A to B? And that is where it gets really fun for us, because there are so many ways to do it. And you obviously saw that at our last summit. We just
Yeah.
threw up the buffet, right? And said,
Mm,
here's all the options.
mm,
Go. Like, pick the one or ones that are right for you. You can be an entrepreneur, you can be an investor. Great. But you can also be different types of entrepreneurs. You can be different types of investors. Like, whatever you're passionate about, whatever sounds fun for you, that's what we're going to figure out. And that's what you're going to do. And when you have the clarity of these three, where it's like, this is where I'm at, this is where I'm going, and this is how I'm going to get there, that leads us to step 4, which is action is the name of the game. And in action, it's not just, all right, great, I know where I'm going, let's start running. It's, no, let's run with control. Let's look at,
mm,
what are the major skills I need? How do I get these skills? Who do I need in my, support group? Do I need an accountability buddy? Do I need a mentor? Do I need partners? Again, what knowledge do I need to learn? What systems do I need to put in place? But just taking massive action on all of this and putting things into play. And as we talked about earlier here, it's okay to break things. It's okay for things to go wrong. You have to be taking action, because it's the feedback of, I tried this, it didn't work. That tells you, well, how about I try this and it does work? Or I tried this and partially it worked, but there were parts that didn't. Great. Now I can change them. And often it's the opposite to what you thought. Like, for perfectionists, they hate the idea of, let's put something out half done. But the ironic thing is, when they put it out half done, it's usually the half that is perfectly done that is the one that doesn't work. And it's the part that is partially done that was like, oh, that was the working part. And that's the feedback they need to get, because then you
mm,
can, you can iterate from that. That's just the starting point. And that's what we love to do. So that's the
mm.
action. The next step, which is step 5, is to then multiply yourself. So once you've taken this action, you've gotten to a certain level of, I know what we're doing, we're figuring things out, we're making some progress. Now it's about, how do I build systems that allow us to rise? How can I automate things? How can I use, and to use Robert's language here, OPM, other people's money, OPT, other people's time, OPC, other people's contacts. Like, how do I create ways that create leverage that allow me to get in front of more people, or get access to more capital, or get access to more of the people I need? How do I make it a win-win for all parties in this? And basically understand that it's not all on my shoulders. I have people around me that can share it. And how do I build that in a way that they win and I win and we win?
I love that. Win, win, win. Yes, having
Exactly.
teamwork makes the dream work, as they say. And, getting the right team. If you have the wrong team, or you have a team, you can have, a lot of people have challenges with their team, but there's also people that have amazing teams, and that's a whole skill in itself, right?
Yeah. Oh, I'm very blessed there. That part I'm very, very blessed with. We have an amazing team. And I'm not just
Mm.
saying that because they're probably watching.
Yeah.
But no, then the next step is a really interesting one. And it actually came in pretty late as we were exploring this. And it's because it's not what an entrepreneur wants to hear. So this one is a little different. And it was really cool because it kept popping up when we were doing the research. And I was kind of pushing back against it. But there was a story of one of these companies that really hammered it into me. And it's a company I absolutely love. I love the story of Nike. So when Phil Knight started Nike, he bought tiger shoes from Japan and he was selling them to runners in Oregon, in Portland, and was and it was building up. And his first year, his total revenue, so not profit, but like revenue, was about $8,000. Now,
Mm.
in his year 1 to year 2, he doubled his revenue, which in theory is really, really good. And from year 2 to year 3, he doubled his revenue. Again, massive percentage wise growth, but at the same time, double nothing is still just more of nothing. So in the
Mm,
first 3 years of Nike's history, their revenue was about $48,000.
wow.
That's 3 years of working his butt off for his passion project, and he made, in business terms, basically nothing. And now they're a 50 billion revenue company, right? And so the sixth lesson is let time do the heavy lifting. If
Mm,
you are improving every day, if you're taking action, if you're getting 1% better, that compounds. Like if you're doubling your revenue every year, that's absolutely outstanding. If you're growing by 30% every year, that's absolutely outstanding. And this is where a lot of us entrepreneurs, we love books like, 10x is easier than 2x, and like you got massive growth. And it's like, yes, we will have times when that happened. We 10x'd last year, but that's not going to be every year, and it doesn't have to be. It's if you found something you're passionate about and you're willing to put in the next 40 years, and every single day you and the business is getting a little bit better, in 40 years you will be amazing. So let time make that do the heavy lifting, have that patience. And it was kind of hard to accept. At the same time, it's like it showed up over and over again. Like none of these overnight successes were overnight successes. They worked their butts off for years, decades, and yeah, it played out. So that one made its way in. Even though as an entrepreneur, I didn't always want to believe it, but it was there. It's the Einstein said, the most powerful force in the universe is compounding, and that's what we do, over time. Um,
yes, and compounding those lever points with the right things, right? I mean,
exactly.
obviously, aligning yourself with some of the world's best speakers, presenters, business people is obviously a big one. And I'm curious, how do you get such amazing people to your event? Like, was that years of building up those relationships as well?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I didn't ask a favor really of a speaker until about 18 months ago, when we really started expanding outside of the Nordics and we started doing these large scale summits. I called up Kim and went, "Look, I need you. I need you to show up." And I'd luckily become friends with Jarek Robbins as well, Tony's son, and he was an amazing speaker in his own right. And I was, "Jarek, I need you to show up for me." And he's like, "Yeah, of course, dude, I'm in." And I built value over, almost a decade at that point. And so when I called in the favors, people jumped in. But that works once, right? You can call in a favor once, but then we provided so much value to them that they were like, "Yeah, we're in again. Like, as much as you want us, we're in." And we kept growing that way, just over, attracted more and more of the speakers, and they would tell their friends. And because a lot of these people know each other, right? They're all in contact. So we
Yeah.
were, and then, that's how we coaxed Jack Canfield out of retirement to speak for us. That came from one of those connections.
Right, amazing. Proximity is power once again, and adding value is so important. Uh, ask how you can help before ask for help, right?
Exactly.
How can you help in
Provide the
certain
value first. And
mm,
then, it's one of those things is, um one of the powers of a business is scale economies. Like the bigger you are, the easier things often get. Other things get hard, but like, if we 100x our company, I would be able to get every speaker in the world because they would want to work for with us. And they would, in some cases they would pay me to speak for us rather than, the yeah, the industry standard of it going the other way. So it's one of those, the bigger you get, the easier a lot of things get. And so that's kind of the flywheel of, in some cases you're asking for favors, in some cases you're doing favors, in some cases it's just a partnership that makes perfect logic for all parties. But it does put the requirement on that you have to consistently deliver, and you have to deliver at a higher and higher level all the time, so that when you make a partnership, that they feel like, wow, this was a great partnership for me as well. The value isn't just going one way, it's going both ways. And that's been something we've worked very hard on, and in some cases made some bad company decisions because we felt that, well, for this speaker's sake, we have to do this.
Yeah, fascinating. I'm curious with your own journey. So 10 years you're kind of chugging along there, and then suddenly things went crazy. And before that, you did a lot of work as well. Were there some big turning points for you as to why you've pursued this entrepreneurial journey yourself, and why you're so passionate about helping to empower people?
Yeah, I like that. I'll answer that, and then we'll circle back to the final step. So we'll
Sure.
leave that as a cliffhanger. I like that.
Ex-
So what? So there are multiple steps. Like the first was obviously seeing Brian Tracy and realizing there was a personal development industry and starting to get into that. Then it was reading Rich Dad Poor Dad and realizing that there was a different financial path rather than just trying to become a CEO of someone else's company. Then it was getting into real estate and getting ripped off for £400,000, which is what kind of forced us to find way, because the problem is, if you've dug yourself a hole with the knowledge you have, generally the knowledge you have is not going to help you get out of that hole, because it's what created the hole in the first place. So
sure.
we realized that, okay, we needed coaching, but we were $400,000 in the black, well, pounds actually, so about half a million US dollars, and whatever that is in Australian dollars, right? Or like 700,000 Australian dollars in the red.
Oh,
Like we were,
wonderful.
yeah. And can you imagine me going then, all right, so I need to learn things to fix this. So I need coaching, and no coaches were coming to Sweden because Sweden's a small market and people didn't believe that Sweden was interested in these things. And we were kind of raising our hand going, yes, we are. Yes, we are. But that wasn't enough. So, like, can you imagine me then going to my investors whose money I've lost, and I'd never bankrupted the company. I said, look, I'm going to figure out how to get your money back. I don't know how. But can you imagine then me going to them and saying, hey, I got great news. I'm going to fly to Florida and go to this event with, whichever speaker, and I'm spending all this money to do this because I will learn stuff and I will fix it. I mean, they would have chewed me out, right? They're like, well, just give me that money. Like, why are you wasting more? You've already lost, six, 700,000 Australian dollars. Like, get out of here. Give me whatever money you have, and that's better than you throwing more money down the drain.
Mm,
And so that wasn't really an option. So what happened was we created a community for people who'd gone through the same education as we. Uh, but it was kind of, we were the blind leading the blind. But we realized this was an amazing community. This was people who wanted to learn, that had invested, $20,000 plus US dollars plus in their personal education. Of course, speakers would love to connect with this community. There were a couple hundred of us. So we started bringing speakers to Sweden to talk to our friends. And like, this was not a profitable venture. It was never meant to be. But we would take the speaker out to dinner and learn from them. That was our free coaching, right? It would cost us the dinner. And the idea was to go break even. And then as we kind of wanted to scale, we said, all right, let's shift this over to being a company, because then we can open the doors not just to our little community, we can open it to the greater Sweden. We can get bigger and better speakers. And then it was years later, and we were able to bring Kim Kiyosaki to Sweden. And it was Kim, because she managed Robert and Kim's whole property portfolio. She basically looked at where we were at and was like, well, it took her, we'd been in this problem for years. It took her 15 minutes to figure out the problem. She was like, restructure that deal, restructure that debt, do 2 more deals like that, and you're done. I was
wow.
like, what? And so that was another breaking point. And that's when I also realized, what is the difference between a bad mentor and a good mentor, right? A
Mm,
bad mentor cost me everything. Like, it cost me my home, it cost me my marriage, it cost me, my sanity. And a good mentor kind of, obviously didn't fix my marriage, but it fixed everything else in 15 minutes. So it's like, it just instant, the value and power of that. And we kind of went, all right, cool. And it taught me as well that like my passion wasn't real estate. I still have a couple properties left. I'm trying to get out of the last few deals I have, because this is my passion, because I see what it can do for someone's life. And then just as we were coming out of that realization, COVID hit, and our business strategy at the time was we partnered with big speakers like Robert and Kim Kiyosaki, or we were partners to Tony Robbins events in Europe, his Unleash the Power Within event. And so we would do like local events using their brands. But then COVID happened and we couldn't do live events anymore. So we were like, okay, well, if we shift to virtual, what are we supposed to do? Like, are we going to do a Tony Robbins virtual event? Tony's doing virtual events. Like, why would someone come and watch us play Tony when you can go see Tony be Tony? And so our niche completely disappeared. And so that was really tough. I had to take consultancy jobs. Like, I just had to do whatever I could to keep the lights on. And then kind of things started to stabilize, and, the industry kind of found its footing virtually. And I knew most of the big promoters in Europe because of us having worked with these big speakers and co-promoting. So I then shifted into being a speaker agent. Like, I had speakers who transitioned well to virtual, and they were like, dude, help us get on stages. And I promoted to our database, but at some point, I'd use that up. But I also had all these other promoter friends who were like, oh man, we need to find some revenue. And I'm like, well, I'm making pretty good revenue from this one. Like, well, can you introduce me? Yeah, sure. And then I was like, well, could I get a cut on, if you guys do something? And they're like, yeah, sure, take some. And so I would get a small sliver, they would split most of the pie, but I would get a small sliver. And because I knew so many people and, I'd worked with so many people over the years, I could kind of just go, great. So you, all of them, and then you, and then all of them, and then you, and then, and all of a sudden, that was working. And that's when a lot of the speakers started pushing me to start doing these multi-speaker summits. And that's obviously what we do now and has completely changed our business. But originally I said no, because I hated the business model. Because what people were doing back then was they would get 10 of these speakers together, and it would be 10 speakers who all kind of knew each other. And the deal was they would all promote this summit to their databases, and then they would all show up at the summit and get to pitch their products. And what I realized was, for everyone other than the promoter, this was a horrible experience, because for the attendees, they would come to an event, it would be like 10 speakers, and they would all be selling stuff. And it was just no content or value. It was just sales pitch after sales pitch. And so it's a horrible experience for the attendee. For the speakers, they already all know each other. They can just co-promote each other's events. They don't have to go into this group thing. So for them, it's like they're promoting this group thing, and it's a horrible experience for their clients. But also, me, the promoter, is taking a cut out of this pie where they could have just done it without me. And they were still all going like, Daniel, you got to do this. You'd make lots of money. Like, we like you, please do it. And I was like, no, this is awful. Like, I would make money, but everyone else would hate it. And I pushed back. We kind of went back and forth. And finally I went, all right, you know what? I'll do it, but I'm doing it my way. And they're like, dude, you do you. And we made 3 big changes to the way these events were done, that I think in some way did have a big impact overall on the industry. The first thing we did was we said, look, it's not just going to be the 10 promoting speakers. We're going to go out and get some real keynotes. And that was the phone call I alluded to earlier in our talk here, to Kim, and said, look, I need you. And she's like, yeah, I'm in. And to Jarek, and he's like, yeah, I'm in. And so I called in these favors, and we got some cool keynotes to kind of headline the thing. So there was a branding value for the speakers, and there was an excitement for the attendees. Then I told the speakers is, yes, you're going to promote it just like usual, but you're not the only ones who are going to promote it, because I'd been working as a speaker agent for, a couple of years. I had all these promoters. So I said, well, guys, you promote it too, and you'll get commissions. And so for the speakers, it's like, yes, they had to promote it, but it was also enhanced by a bunch of other people promoting it. So it wasn't just their crowd. It would be a bigger crowd. And that provided value. But then I turned around to them and said, but you're not going to be allowed to do a sales pitch at the event. And they said, well, so what's the point of it? They said, you can give a gift. You can come on, you can give value, you can give them something for free. And so they can truly get to know you. They can truly understand what it is you do and how you help them. And you do give them some help. But if they want to go deeper, of course, they're going to have to pay for your more advanced coaching and support and one on one and full classes and stuff. But that will not happen at the summit. That can happen later, in a smaller setting. And after some back and forth, they were like, all right, we'll try your way. And so the event itself became this really cool experience. It wasn't at all as tailored as it is now, but it was just, we have these cool speakers and we have, there's speakers providing value the whole way through, and it's no sales, and the event is free. And it just became this really nice kind of experience. And it was fun because it was right before Christmas. This was in November. Was it 2023? Somewhere there, to November 2023. And so the crowd gave me the nickname Santa Claus because I was the MC, and all I was doing was giving away gifts all day, right? So they absolutely loved it. And the speakers did very good revenue because our mission is to, connect you with the right mentor at the right time to help you take the next step on your journey. And these speakers could do that. But the attendee got to check first. It wasn't just a hype and pressure. It was like, is this the person that can help me? And they got a chance to get to know them and go like, yeah, this person can help me. And that made them also much more committed with the speaker. So the speakers revenued really, really well. And so everyone was happy. And then we expanded it. And, we got all these referrals of other, amazing speakers that wanted to be a part of it. And it kind of snowballed from there, which was really, really cool.
I love that. And again, so much value, giving. And of course, look how it's come back for you as well.
But it's also, I was very intentional in all these parts of, I will give, but there is something in it for me, right? Like I would give clients to, go and see Tony Robbins events, but I was able to use his brand and I was getting a commission, right? It wasn't a pure give, but I was providing huge value. As same with Robert and Kim Kiyosaki. Yeah, I was selling the cash flow board game, but I was also associating myself with the brand. And also now with these events, they're free, yes, and it's very little sales, and it's an experience, and it's value. But of course, true value happens when you can go in deep into a subject. Like if you need to learn marketing, you got to get in deep into that. And, a speaker will obviously charge to go into that real detail, and we get a commission. So it's also an intentional giving where it's like, I want no one to feel like they're buying the wrong thing for the wrong reason. They should know why and what they're buying, but they should be able to invest in themselves and grow and work with the speaker. And if we do, that's then how we pay for the show. So it's an intentional, not just give for giving's sake. It's give to make sure everyone in the ecosystem, again, that whole everyone who's in contact with Swedish Wealth Institute should make money. A part of that is also the Swedish Wealth Institute. So it's intentional in how we do that. And I think that's a part a lot of entrepreneurs, especially connectors, will miss.
Being intentional. And that comes down to, what is it you want, right? Where are you? Where are you going?
Yeah.
Yes. Beautiful. I love that. And so we do have number 7, the 7 steps.
Yeah. Should we wrap up with the last part here?
Yeah.
So the final step of the journey, and you've actually already mentioned it, and this is why I like these steps, because they're principles. This is just how things work. We kind of know them naturally. So it's not like we've invented something new. We've just created a powerful framework that you can follow. So you mentioned earlier, like when you're taking action, you're getting feedback. And so the last step, we call it, you return wiser than you were before. It's taking what is the feedback you're getting? What is the data you're able to collect? What worked? What didn't? What do you need to improve? And you take all that, and then you start over with step 1 again. And you go, all right, so let's do it again. But what do I now need to change, right? It's like you peeled out the outer layer of the onion, you dealt with all this trauma, But now as you come back, you realize, well, sadly, there's another layer of trauma that that you didn't know you had because you've gotten deeper. But it's an upward spiral where every cycle you go through, you're able to get into deeper into the details and clarify your goals more and get a
Mm.
better understanding of where you are now, where you're going. You learn about your path because you've tried things. You saw, I like this, I don't like this. You've built more context, you multiply yourself better, you continue to take this massive action, building better and better systems to support you. Again, some time has gone by, and it allows you to see what is the impact of time, which hopefully will instill a trust in you that yes, it will work if I stay on it. And then once again, you get the feedback again and you start over, and it becomes this positive cycle of growth.
I love that. I love that upward spiral. And there's going to be times we're going to feel sometimes like downward spirals happening. And so that's when sometimes we just need to slow down to speed up too, sometimes,
Yeah,
and
well, absolutely. And that's a part of the growth is, you'll get into these layers, and sometimes it feels like you're taking a big step back, but it's because you found something that you didn't know, or, something happened in the world. COVID happened, like that set us back, it set us back to zero or negative, but I learned and grew. So there were still parts of the business and me that improved even though everything restarted. So it's kind of like, there was two businesses. There was the pre-COVID business where I made lots of mistakes and I learned all these things. And then it's the post-COVID business where we've started over from absolute zero, but look at the difference in growth curve because I am a better entrepreneur now.
It's interesting through COVID, there were some businesses that absolutely thrived
Yeah.
because they
Oh,
did
if you were
that.
positioned for it. Yeah.
That pivot word was, all
Yeah.
over the place during COVID, and some people
Oh,
did
yeah.
pivot. They went online, they
Oh, and
changed.
yeah, we were just horribly positioned.
Mm,
It just totally killed our niche, and it took us time to figure out what was the new one, what was the new model, and that's okay.
mm.
You can't prepare for everything. You can try. I try now, like, I don't want that to happen again, but, as long as you're learning and growing, it's okay.
Absolutely. Stay on that roller coaster ride of life, right? And enjoy the journey. Enjoy every part of the journey, the ups, the downs, the roundarounds. And this is where, 80% of businesses fail in the first 5 years and
Mhm.
80% fail in the next 5 years of those that
Yeah,
survive. So
yeah,
really it takes a lot of resilience to make it to 10 years in business as you have. Congratulations.
yeah.
So resilient, you've mentioned some absolute gold nuggets there, but for you personally, apart from resilience, what are some absolute foundational things that you need to make it through 10 years in business and to stay on that roller coaster ride of life?
Honestly, I just wanna go back to what we've talked about. It's finding your core values. My values work for me, obviously, and then it's just following these 7 steps. So those core values, that's a part of step 1, right? Is what do you stand for, and, what will you stand for? And then, the clearer you can get, the more you can grow, the more you can improve in these different areas. Then it comes down to step 6. Just trust the process. Trust that as long as you get better, so will life. And even with temporary hiccups, and it's hard, but to kind of remind yourself that, well, okay, this was a lesson. This happened for me, not to me. So wonder why, wonder what's coming.
Yes, if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. And on the personal development side, to work on yourself. Now, what do you do as far as exercise, health? Do you have some big
Yeah, I
big?
am crazy when it comes to my health. I have a whole blueprint I follow. So I wake up when I wake up, my body gets to sleep what it needs, usually around 6 a.m. I do a morning activation. The first thing, it's like going through the whole body. While I'm doing that, I've turned on the tap for my cold bath so that when I'm done with my workout, I can do brush my teeth, get myself ready, put in my lenses. And right around then, the cold bath is done. So I do 8 minutes of a cold plunge. And then I have a cup of green tea. I have my first breakfast with like supplements and stuff. And then I'll go through some mindset work and goal setting and mantras before usually doing a little bit of work. And I have a standing desk. So I'm standing up now, but I also have a treadmill. So while I'm working, I'll walk. So I'll usually do that for about an hour, just make sure my body's fully warmed up again. Then I go to the gym, and my workouts anywhere between 1 and 2 hours day by day. It depends on, it's obviously different schedules, different days. After that, I have a prepped meal that I have, which is a very protein heavy meal, and lots of supplements and stuff in that as well. After that, I get a little more work done. Then I have my lunch, which also comes with some supplements, and I have a very like tailored. So I'm actually measuring my food to make sure I'm getting all the right things I need. After that, again, more work, more walking, go outside a little bit, have my meetings. I usually have a dip in energy. We all have our energy flows, and I've learned to respect mine. So my dip is usually between about 12 o'clock and about 2 o'clock. But I've found that I can always do a meeting like this. We're actually right in my down window right now, but I've done this for so many years that I'm able to put myself in state for this. So I often have my meetings are between 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock, and coming out of that, then I eat dinner very early. I eat dinner at about 5, so that I get a little bit of intermittent fasting. And then I play sports. So I play football. So usually it'd be football practice. And then, I try to get a couple hours of relaxing. Like I start my going to bed routine at 8 p.m. So I'll do a foam rolling of my body. I'll take a warm bath slash sauna. I have my red light therapy machine. So I do 20 minutes of that. Then I have my evening cup of tea, my evening supplements, my evening protein, and then I'll read a book and go to sleep. So it's yeah, health is throughout the day.
Oh, I love all that. I love all those steps. And you mentioned mantras there. Is there meditation in amongst those mantras, or any specific
Well,
mantra?
yeah. So I do three different kind of meditations a day. So that morning it's a mantra, which is more just me anchoring like this is who I am, and this is me. I do my goal setting, which is more visualizing, but then I'll do a 10-minute meditation, which is very free flow. It's usually what I'll do is I'll just light a candle, I'll look at the candle, and I'll let my thoughts just be and accept them, and not try to do too much. Like I don't have a mission to be a monk, and be able to find that kind of enlightenment. It's more I just let my mind be my mind, and just accept myself. And then throughout the day, twice during the day, I'll do an exercise that Marcy Shimoff walked me through in our podcast, where I'll put my hands on my heart and I'll breathe through my heart and just feel, love and happiness, and just do that for 5 minutes twice a day. Because a study from Heart Math that she shared with me on that episode shows that if you can do that puts you in this heart mind coherence. And if you are in coherence for 5 minutes, it will actually strengthen your immune system for about 6 hours. Like it puts your entire body in a better shape for 6 hours. So I do it twice a day, which basically gives me half the day of of good. Yeah, so I mix in a little bit. I just don't have the patience to meditate longer. It's is something I'm working on. That's one of the go back to step one and what do you need to improve on. But I found that this level is comfortable. I like it. I enjoy it, and I actually look forward to it.
Oh, that is absolute gold. I love all of that. And oh, yes, the heart is 5,000 times more powerful than the mind, they say. So, absolutely loving ourselves. A girlfriend said to me once, all the love you have for others is there for you too. Right. So, actually, giving ourselves that love is so important. Oh, thank you for all of that, Daniel. That's amazing. Oh, gosh, it sounds like your days are absolutely phenomenal. I love the balance in that too, the work and the play, and the standing is very powerful as well. Obviously, sitting down for too long is really not good for us. So look into the details around that too. We often sit way too long and on our screens way too long. However,
Yeah.
this is how we're connecting with you right now. So what are the future plans for you now, Daniel, for yourself and your business?
Well, So for the business, we're inventing so many things. The community is growing like crazy. The speakers we're negotiating with to come on now are just so exciting. So we're just looking to be able to provide more value and work with more and more people all over the world. It's just been so exciting, this opportunity. So we continue to grow, we continue to expand, and really that's what I'm trying to do in all areas of my life is find ways to be a better father for my children, find ways to be a better person to my friends, find ways to be stronger, be faster as an athlete, to be a better leader to my team, and to find ways to constantly improve. Just again, 1% better every day. And if you can get to the level where you're getting 1% every day better in every part of your life, then then it's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I am loving being in your proximity and I could talk to you for ages. However, we do need to wrap up shortly. So I'd love for you to share with our viewers a little bit about your Swedish Wealth Institute membership and also
Yeah.
some of your events coming up.
Yeah, so this is one of the things we were talking about, right? Is we hate the now because I know what's coming. So the community is absolutely amazing, and it's going to be that much more amazing later. So it's really, really coming to that next level. So the community is built around these 7 steps. It's really about finding ways to improve. So we have a course library. We have an amazing. It's like we have our own app. So we have this, it's basically like your own social media. You can post updates, you can connect with other members, and we're implementing so many things right now where we are so we're implementing a AI matchmaker where you'll be able to connect with people from all over the world or locally that are aligned with you, that are on the same mission as you, that based on your interests and what you do are similar to you and you can become friends with. So it creates all these helps to how do I take my next step? Like what am I missing? What do I need? And it's all there. And we do a lot of like small quests together, like challenges. We do meetups through Zoom. So there's a lot of fun in that community. It's only 27 euros a month. And that's really just to cover our costs of actually being able to deliver it. The whole idea is, can we create a movement together where we're together changing the world and changing ourselves? I think that is really, really cool. So yeah, you're sharing this link. I'd love to give everyone listening a 2-week free trial to try it out because I can't do it justice really with words. It's more an experience. We want what is these amazing events we do to kind of become an ongoing event that growth never stops.
Yes, amazing. That is the link there up on the screen. We see it in the comments as well. So wherever you're tuning in, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, thank you so much for joining us. Or if you're watching the replay on Spotify, BitChute, Rumble, wherever you are, thank you for joining us. Let us know, in fact, are you joining us live or on the replay? Let us know in the comments and have a look in the comments for these links for your 2-week free trial to Swedish Wealth Institute. And you do have some other amazing events coming up. I'm just going to pop one up here. Can you tell us about the Money Mastery Summit coming up, the New Year's
Yeah,
Summit?
this one I am so excited about. So we've realized that everyone wants to start the year amazing. So we're doing the Money Mastery New Year's Summit. A lot of my friends are very spiritual. This year is the year of the fire horse, the year for change, the year for growth. So we're setting it up we've brought in some of the best speakers in the world. Like we have Robert Kiyosaki, Nick Vujicic, Les Brown, Jack Canfield, Brian Tracy, Janet Atwood, Marcy Shimoff, and dozens more speakers that are all joining to share their lessons and the tools that you need. And it's all about making sure that you can master where you are now, master your finances, master your mindset, and then making the just absolutely amazing. We're currently away free tickets. So through that link that you just shared there, Aldwyn, everyone can get a free ticket. This one is the 22nd to the 25th of January. It is targeting the North American market. So that's the time zone. Obviously, it's virtual. You can join from everywhere. But we have one the week after, the 29th of January to the 1st of February, which targets the European time zone. And then we have, I think, Asia and Oceania, so Asia Pacific, is the 5th to the 8th of March. So we're covering most of the time zones one way or another. It's 4 days packed with information, packed with tools, and packed with gifts. Like I sat down and calculated like the value of just the stuff you're getting for showing up free is about $100,000 worth. So it is, and that's actually US dollars. So there's a lot of value, there's a lot of growth, and then the cool thing is you're going to get the ability to connect directly with these speakers, so that if you want to learn more from them, you'll be able to, which is obviously a huge gift.
Absolutely. So check that out there. The next one, Money Mastery New Year's Summit, January 22 to 25 for the US market. And, anywhere in the world, of course, it's online. So you could hop on
And
it.
we should say North America. We have a lot of Canadian friends join these events. So we've learned we are very clear. It's not the US, it is North America, because our Canadian friends are absolutely amazing.
Yes, we know how much the Canadians love the US and vice versa.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why we're like, yeah, guys, no, it's not just the US. We love you, Canada. We're in. We got you.
We love our Canadians. It's funny in Australia when you're speaking to somebody and you're not sure whether they're US or Canadian, and if you say US and they're Canadian, they get very offended. So it's although for us Aussies they all sound very similar. So
no. So we it's a North American time zone.
North American time zone and other time zones. So reach out if you'd like some of those other links, but otherwise hop on there. Swedish Wealth Institute, amazing. Now we are coming to the end of our show. Is there a favorite quote or motto that you'd like to share with us, Daniel?
There's so many, aren't there?
Yes.
Let's see if I got one that isn't one of our own, right?
Could be one of your own, or one you live
by.
I
mean, for me, just 1% better every day is just that's what I live by. That is what's always in my mind. It's just, how do we get 1% better every day?
That is the goal. And even if you're having a down day, you might have actually been 1% better in some areas, but you might not be recognized.
Exactly. That's it. That's all you need. I mean, some days 1% better is doing nothing. Is like, because I take very little time off. So sometimes just taking a Sunday fully off, not doing anything, just turning off my phone, that was 1% better because I got better by resting.
Yes, I recently spent a few days out in nature, and just connecting with the birds and with the sounds of nature was so rejuvenating for me. And I felt like
1% better, not progress. It was 1% better, and that's more important sometimes.
Yes, love that. Thank you so much, Daniel. Anything else you want to share before we wrap up today?
I just appreciate everyone who's taken the time to get all this way through the podcast. Like, I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the time, and I hope I get to connect with you either through the Swedish Wealth Institute podcast, through the community, through our events, or wherever else, social media, wherever else you find us.
Thank you so much, Daniel. And I absolutely love your work. And I thank you for your generosity and what you do for the community. I think it's extraordinary. I mean, where else can you attend an event for free and get $100,000 US worth of free gifts just for showing up? I think that's extraordinary. And those who lean in will get out what you put in. So, really, if you're going to show up for these events, show up fully and you'll get the most out of it. That is absolutely brilliant. And for those who want to connect with me, just go along to linktr.ee/Aldwyn. If you want to be seen, heard, and known, build your brand and your profile and make a bigger difference, then reach out there. Also, we have the free Global Good News Challenge every month, which is free marketing for you. And we have some great tips on how to get TV exposure and a whole lot of other things on the website. So go to that link, linktr.ee/Aldwyn. You'll see all my links there. And of course, check out Swedish Wealth Institute as well. Thank you so much for joining us here on Media Queen TV. Thank you, Daniel. Really appreciate your time. I know you've got a a full day ahead of activities and meetings. So really appreciate you being with us today on Media Queen TV. And those that have joined us live or on the replay, let us know, what have you enjoyed about this show today? And share the love. Let your friends know about it. I'm sure we've shared so many gems here. Daniel's been extraordinary with his values and his steps to financial success. That could be a life changer in itself for some people that just need to hear these messages today. So thank you so much once again. Be seen with the Media Queen, and we'll see you again next time on Media Queen TV. Thank you so much, Daniel. See you again soon. Bye.